Good morning, New York. I'm Saoirse Shea, here to bring you news on a story that is sweeping the nation, Beauty and the Bootlegger. In this story, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, narrator Nick tells the story of his isolated neighbor who goes by the name of Jay Gatsby, his pursuit of the past, and lover Daisy Buchanan. Marcella Osha will now bring us up to date with current events concerning this story.
Thank you, Cersei. It's a story that has captured the attention of America, the story of Jay Gatsby and Daisy Buchanan. Born Jane Gaps, Jay grew up in a poor family, eventually being drafted into World War II. But before he left, he fell in love with Daisy Faye, a woman who every soldier sought after. However, after leaving for the war, Gatsby's long-loved Daisy married Tom Buchanan, an abusive white supremacist, and they eventually had a child named Tammy. Over the course of 5 years, Tom spent some of his time with his mistress Myrtle. When Gatsby returned from the war, he began to illegally sell alcohol to gain money and possibly the love of Daisy Buchanan.
This gained her attention, and after an explosive day in town, it was revealed that Daisy loves both Tom and Gatsby. After the party, Gatsby and Daisy rush home to West Egg, but on the way hit Myrtle Wilson, Tom's mistress, and kill her. We will continue to bring you updates on this.
James Gatz, or Jay Gatsby, has been murdered by Myrtle Wilson's distraught husband, George Wilson, a poor auto shop owner living in the Valley of Ashes. Apparently, George believed Gatsby was Myrtle's lover and killed him in cold blood. We bring you interviews with Nick Carraway, Tom, and Daisy Buchanan, and the ghost of James Gatz.
Hello, Mr. Gatsby. How are you?
I'm doing quite all right today. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. So, Mr. Gatsby, what did Daisy do to give you hope that someday she would come to your extravagant parties?
Well, our connection is so strong that we can feel each other across the world. We wrote letters to each other extensively for quite some time. If she just had a glimpse of what she was missing, she would probably come back to me. But I always have had this underlying feeling that somehow Daisy and Tom are forever connected. Whether it's through their self-pleasure or their child, I do not know. But what I do know is I tried everything I could possibly do to win her back.
You mentioned Daisy might be with Tom for self-pleasure. Elaborate on that.
Well, before I left for war, I didn't have much. In fact, that's the reason why I went to war, so I could eventually study at Oxford and become the man that Daisy always desired. And Tom is the complete opposite of me, a foil to speak. He has money and is able to immediately give Daisy the glamorous life she wanted and I wasn't able to give her. That pleased her and apparently was enough for her to marry Tom without even first loving him.
So would you consider her past decisions to be hedonistic?
Well, of course not. Some may see it that way, but I see it as Daisy was just looking for a better life. There isn't anything wrong with that old sport.
Was she as amazing as you dreamt her to be? Or did your nostalgic feelings cloud your judgment, causing a fall into reality, disillusionment even?
Well, look, Daisy is the best thing that's ever happened to me. All of this, the money, the bootlegging, all of it is for her. Yes, she may be a bit shallower than I remember, but that doesn't change my feelings towards her. I loved her up until George Wilson shot me in the head, and I still love her today.
Yes, of course. Final question. Let's talk a minute about your funeral. Nick recalls he heard you pleading with him to find people to attend because, and I'm quoting, so correct me if I'm wrong, I can't go through this alone. What did you hope to gain from this message?
All along, I've known that the people at my parties were no importance to me, but a small part of me hoped that somewhere in there I could have some real friends. But to be honest, it was a plea for me to get Daisy, but I guess Nick didn't try hard enough. Only person here was Old Owl Eyes, watching as if God or some bigger being sent him to judge my actions, or me. I always got that vibe from Old Owl Eyes.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you, Mr. Gatsby, for your time.
You're very welcome.
Reporting for XYZ 4040, I'm Alessandra Stark.
When Nick Carraway moved to West Egg, he didn't expect to find himself in the middle of a crazy love triangle between his neighbor, his cousin, and his cousin's husband. Reporter Oberon Theron got the chance to talk with Nick about his experience at Gatsby's parties and what he observes during his stay at West Egg and what he thinks about his friend's love for his cousin.
So what brought you, a Western man, to take residence up in West Egg?
Well, I had always wanted to live there, but I couldn't afford to live in East Egg. That's where people with old money stay, and I just don't have that. But in West Egg, it's for us newcomers, and I've always found something pleasing about this place rather than my old home in Minnesota, so I decided to move here.
In your narrative of the novel, the day you met Daisy, you described her presence in the room in an angelical type way. Why is that?
Well, that's just how it was. She was sitting there, dressed as white, as an angel, and when the wind blew, it was just as if she was flying. There was always something about Daisy. Like, there were two sides to her. Like, she had some sort of dual personality. I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
No, I understand. So continuing the idea of Daisy, you seem to be slightly annoyed with Gatsby at the times. Was this because you sensed he used you as a gateway to Daisy?
I wasn't annoyed that he was asking me for help with Daisy. I was annoyed that he seemed to believe money was always the answer to everything. When he asked me to call Daisy over for tea and invite him, he offered money. Gatsby was always like that. Believed he needed money for everything, winning me over and even Daisy. I just hoped he learned that money wasn't important before he passed. A part of me despises him because of his closed-minded ways. But a part of me misses him just because we did get kind of close.
So last question here. If you could change one thing about what happened in the past events, including Gatsby's death, what would you change?
I wouldn't change anything. There's no point in chasing the past when you can only move forward to the future. That's what Gatsby's biggest issue was. He constantly reached back to the past, trying to revive and relive what just wasn't possible.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Caraway. Reporting from XYZ 4040, I am Tyron Lannister.
Next, another one of our reporters got to catch up with Tom Buchanan, an abusive white supremacist married to Daisy, and ask him about his way of life and what he felt when his mistress was killed. Alright, so Nick mentions in the story that you and Daisy moved from place to place for no particular reason. He also mentioned that it tended to be where people were rich. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, there's nothing to elaborate on. We moved to the best places we could so that we could enjoy our marriage. Plain and simple. There's nothing wrong with doing things to please yourself, and besides, I have the money for it anyway. I always have. And why would anyone listen to Nick? I spent some time trying to please that man, trying to get him to like me, but it's not worth it. He's not worth it. Next question.
Many people wonder what gives you the right to criticize Gatsby and Daisy's affair while you were having one of your own with Myrtle. What makes your situation any different from theirs?
Well, my situation was very different from the foolishness Gatsby and Daisy thought they had going on. There was nothing between those two. He thought he could take away my wife as if she didn't love me, but I showed him. Plus, I didn't have a past with Myrtle. Daisy had one with that fraud. My situation was just different.
Why was it such a big deal that you stay married to Daisy? You were with someone else at the same as her. So many speculated you could have been happier apart. Can you tell us about that?
That's a load of nothing. How would that look? Daisy and I, our perfect family, split and I left her for someone else. That's nothing but foolishness. Daisy and I were just fine. I was able to do what I wanted and Daisy got the luxurious life she wanted. We were just happy together. Now stop with all these foolish questions before I walk right out of this interview.
Okay. Sorry to upset you some. But I do have a few more questions if that's okay.
Well, get on with it then.
Is your relationship with Daisy a form of oppression? From what we heard, you do believe in the master race, but do you oppress Daisy with your excessive authority over her?
What does that even mean? Sure, I've given her a bruise or two, but that doesn't mean I oppress her.
But you control everything she does. Isn't that oppressing her in a way?
I'm over this. I'm leaving since you can't respect my request.
Well, I guess we're done here. Reporting for XYZ 4040, I'm Oberon Theon.
Daisy's married to Tom, who won't let her divorce him because she is his trophy wife. And Jay wants to go back in the past 5 years to when Daisy loved him before the war. Oberon Theon got the chance to talk with Daisy about both men and what she feels when Gatsby asks her to tell Tom that she doesn't
How
love him.
important is Gatsby to you? Or is he totally of your past and that's that?
I do care about Gatsby still. Even if I couldn't choose him in the end, I still enjoyed his company and experienced different feelings than I did with Tom. It taught me the difference between them, and that I could truly experience both.
He obviously has feelings for you which run his life. Would you ever consider reliving the past with Gatsby?
If I had the chance to start all the way over, I may have chosen Gatsby. It hurt to lose him in the end, even if I didn't get to show it as much. However, if I just had to choose between Tom and Gatsby over again like I did at the hotel, I would have kept my decision as Tom. Tom provided me security in life, and I don't think I could change my entire life just for Gatsby because I care about my social image.
Thank you for watching XYZ 4040. I'm Marcella Osha.
And I'm Saoirse Shea. Stay tuned for News at 6, where we will bring you a story over Dr. Victor Frankenstein and what his project is this year.